Hey guys, welcome to Feelings with the Geekiary Quarantined and Bored Edition. Woo! I'm Erin. I'm here along with Admin Angel and Jamie. We're fans. We have feelings. This is where we webcast about them, and we're still in quarantine.
Yep.
Oh my god, yeah.
This is my first official week in quarantine because I was still working last week, so.
Welcome to the party. So now you're officially here. So you can join the conversation either in our chat here on YouTube, which we can see, or in the hashtag Geekiary Feelings. So, you know, how will we know if we're wrong if you don't tell us? So definitely join the conversation and, you know, tell us how wrong we are. Because we are.
Or maybe not. Not always.
I am never wrong.
You're right. I'm wrong. We're never wrong.
On that note, since Jamie says she's never wrong, we would like to remind you all that the views expressed on this webcast are those of the hosts as individuals and do not necessarily represent the Geekiary or the webcast itself as a whole. Yeah. So,
I noticed we don't warn about profanity anymore. We removed that from our disclaimer because we just assume we're going to curse.
Well, I mean, YouTube has those new guidelines now where you're either like family YouTube or not family YouTube. So we're just not family YouTube, and
Okay.
It's fine.
So we don't need the disclaimer for that.
Yeah. I mean, no.
Oh yeah, when I had to upload my Toy Fair videos, I was like, because they're about toys. So technically, but at the same time, like, but we're not for kids. Like, just because this is a video about toys doesn't mean it's for children. So.
And as we saw from the comments, they come from mostly like older people who are very picky about their toys.
That is true. All right. Also, let's not forget about our Patreon, I guess. It's patreon.com/thegeekiary. If you want to give us money, it's cool.
We got a new Patreon this month, so I don't know where they found it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
New person.
Also, be sure to check out the rest of our YouTube channel on that note. We have a bunch of quarantine content. We've been doing these quarantine webcasts every week, and it's been really fun. And also, one of our latest non-quarantined web videos. Sorry.
Stuff.
I'm so tired. It's age. It gets to you, and you're just like, I don't know what words are. Fareed did a great reaction video to the Schitt's Creek series finale. So check that out if you want to. And yeah, so what else do we have going on as far as news from this past week?
Well, not much is happening. Like, there's nothing.
Well, that's, yeah. We've discovered that.
So the only news I've written about in like 2 weeks is that Kevin Feige, who, you know, does the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in case you don't know, tweeted for the first time in like 2 years. The last time he tweeted was when Stan Lee passed away, like in 2018. And then a few days ago, he retweeted a clip of the audience reaction to when Captain America, spoiler, I guess, wields Mjolnir, you know, Thor's hammer. And like how the audience is going absolutely crazy for it on opening night. And he retweeted that, and I'm not quoting him exactly, but basically the premise was a reminder of what we were doing 1 year ago and we'll soon do again. So it was kind of a positive little thing that he tweeted, and he came out of nowhere to do it. And also I think it's interesting because you're not supposed to film in theaters, and there's Kevin Feige retweeting someone clearly filming in a theater, but you know, it was positive, so I think we'll forgive them for that. That's literally the only news I've written about in weeks. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Oh no, we lost Jamie.
Jamie, no.
Jamie's been having some modem issues, so hopefully she'll be back. It's
Is there
fine.
literally any other news happening?
You look at me like I know. I have no idea. I mean, no, yes.
I don't know. Let's bring up our news section because I've included that one because I wrote about it. But literally there's like 19 people that write for our website. So
yeah, I know. I mean, there have been there's not a ton of news right now. I think a lot of people are just like at home watching TV and stuff and anime. And that's what most of our content has been on the website over the last week or so, because
got a couple things.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good.
More quarantine tips from Doctor Who. From the doctor.
Yeah.
She shared that, which again, it's Twitter. Like most of my news is coming from Twitter. It's like they tweeted this thing. Kevin Feige tweeted, BBC tweeted. What else we got? But also Parasite is now streaming on Hulu, which people should know what Parasite is. You know, kind of broke all sorts of records, or you know, first non-English language film to win Best Picture. And you can now watch it. So I wrote about that. Jamie, do you have any news? I'm like literally just scrolling through our news section.
I'm plugged into my modem and it's still not. That's how much my internet sucks.
We'll get through this.
Yeah, we'll just have Jamie occasionally pop in and out. It's fine. No, it's all good. Yeah, Parasite. I have wanted to watch that for a long time. I haven't yet. I'm going to probably within the next couple days. I just have been really sick, and like subtitles are at the bottom of my list right now. Things I want to deal with, but soon,
yes.
Very soon.
And a lot of other stuff from the same film creator got put up too. One I recommend is called The Host, which was like 2005, 2006, something like that. But it's basically South Korean like monster film, but the thing about this filmmaker is like he's really good at taking a genre and coming at it from like a different angle. So even if you're not into like monster films, I still recommend The Host. It's an interesting take on that genre. But there's a bunch of other ones up too. So gosh, check it out.
Excellent. I should also say, I know I already mentioned this once and it's later on in the doc, but we might as well do it now. This past week was the Schitt's Creek series finale. Oh my gosh. I know that neither of you have seen it. That's okay. We're not going to talk about it here, but it is worth mentioning because it is a show that pretty much everyone on our staff watches and loves. So it is definitely worth talking about. And we do want to have a Schitt's Creek quarantine webcast eventually, as soon as everybody gets caught up. Should be in the next week or two, I think. So yeah. We'll see how that goes. I'm
halfway through season 5 now, so I'm getting there.
You're really, because
I'm going at a good clip.
And they're short seasons, so yeah,
like 13 episodes or something, 12 episodes. Yeah,
and they're short. Yeah, they're short episodes too. So.
Yeah.
I just love that show. I'm so sad, but
I'm enjoying it. I've also started including Schitt's Creek like phrases in my speech now, like
eat glass.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's not bad. Love that for you.
Yep. It happens. Definitely happens. And then you'll just use only Schitt's Creek gifts from here to eternity.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so what are we do you guys want to talk about like what, not necessarily recommendations, but what you've been doing, watching, reading? I know Jamie's the reader here.
Yeah, mostly fan fiction right now, unfortunately. Like earlier this week I was like, I'm gonna start reading my books that I have, and then I just don't. So because I have dived into the world of Chinese drama.
Me too. I've gone at a slightly different angle than you did. I'm going into the books. You're going into like the live action drama, right?
Yeah.
So we're in the same like wheelhouse, but slightly different like mediums.
Yeah, actually, both of the titles that I have listed that I put in this section on the document are Chinese dramas.
Are they both? Wait, one's Zhao Zhan and one's Wang Yibo. Ah!
Yeah.
Aaron's
because, Well, like a month or so ago, I finally watched the Untamed, which is amazing. And like as soon as I finished, I immediately rewatched it, and then I had like two rewatch and after I finished my rewatch, I rewatched it again. So I'm slightly obsessed.
Have you watched the donghua?
Yes, I finally did that. I finished that last week.
And did you read the manhwa?
Not yet.
Have you read the novel?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I know the plot differences because I looked that up on Wikipedia, or to Fandom, whatever,
the internet.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is that when I was watching the animated one, the only thing I could think was like, I'm gonna rewatch the live action. So then, yeah, so the stars of the Untamed are Zhao Zhan and Wang Yibo, who are both one in Chinese idol groups. Well, Wang Yibo's is like Chinese South Korean, so it's really weird. So they released like two versions of all of their songs, one in Korean and one in Chinese. And so like I looked them up, what's their filmography? And some of this stuff is actually available like on legitimate streaming. I did a recommendation post for the first one I watched, which was Oh My Emperor, which is like completely ridiculous. But it's on Amazon Prime, so if you have Prime Video, look it up because it's like 42 episodes. It's just like interesting. It's similar to the Untamed, and then it's set in like ancient China, and everybody does like that, like martial arts where they're like
the genre. I think is the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably they have. It's like there's 12 like lords. I mean, 2 of them are women, but 12 like lords, and it's the zodiac, and so everybody has a special ability based on your zodiac sign. And then the zodiac kingdom is like being threatened and blah 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 blah. But it's just so that like I watched that, and that is like it's weird and it's ridiculous, but it was entertaining, and that's all that matters. And then when I finished that, I watched and then I watched Modao Sushi after that. But then I watched Superstar Academy, which is also Zhao Zhan. And that is, they also have special abilities based on Zodiac. And they're the same abilities as in Oh My Emperor. So I wonder if that's like a cultural thing, or if that's just they were born and just like, because the thing is, yeah. Well, the thing is with both of those shows is that like pretty much every male cast member is in Zhao Zhan's idol group. So I'm like,
Oh my God.
Like they're the same. They switched out their abilities though, so they have different abilities in the shows. But it's like a modern day. It's like they're at a school for like people with powers, and like anyway, that one I actually liked better, and I think it was just for shallow reasons, like Zhao Zhan in sweaters a lot. I like sweaters.
I love your fangirling. I love
it. So I finished that a couple days ago, and then I started Gank Your Heart, which is the Wang Yibo. I've actually heard really good things about it. I'm on episode 11. Mm-hmm. And that's actually really good. So he is a professional gamer, and he gets into like a professional like rivalry with this female like streamer. Like she writes for like a blog or something like that, and so they get into like have a rivalry like back and forth, and then it's like her colleague is trying to ruin her career and anything. It's really good. But that is like Superstar Academy was on YouTube, so that was easy to watch. This one not so much. I had to Google and go to some less than reputable sites. But I found it on Daily Motion, which is good because there's an app for that.
Some of this Chinese fandom stuff is hard to find. Some of it, though, is like out there. Like the Dongwon Modao Zushi is available on YouTube as well through Tencent. That's easy to find. But then trying to find the novel, you have to go to, like, I read it off of some obscure website. And like,
I have it bookmarked to read. I just haven't read it yet. Because like you have to read it on your computer. So
yeah, well, I have one that I read on my phone. I'll send that to you because maybe it's a different one. But yeah. So if you're done with your recommendations, I can take back off that because it's related. So while you went the live action drama route with the Chinese fandom stuff, I went the novel route. And the same author who wrote Modao Zushi wrote another one called Heaven Official's Blessing. And it is 244 chapters long. It is twice as long as the Bible, twice as long as a George R.R. Martin novel. It's insanely long. And I finally finished it. Finally. And it was amazing. It's hard to describe the plot because it's so long, but it's basically about a god who keeps like getting kicked out of heaven, like over and over again. And then finally on one of his ascensions, like it follows the story of like him and a ghost king and like their relationship. So yeah, it gay, which is fantastic. It's amazing. And if you can read a 244 chapter book, I highly recommend it, but that one's not easy to find either. You gotta like dig around for it. And I forget how to pronounce the author's name, but everyone just calls her MXT Ex because those are the initials. So I should have written that down. But I started reading another one of her novels, like I think which was her first novel, called Scum Villain Self-Saving System, which is an extremely bizarre concept. It is about this guy who is reading a really crappy novel, like a harem novel, where like the main character has a bunch of women falling in love with him, and he's like a stereotypical protagonist, and he absolutely hates this novel. And then he dies and gets reborn into the novel. Into this really crappy novel, but he's not the main character. He's like the antagonist, and he has to like navigate being the main character's antagonist. And because the character that he's born into gets killed by the main character at some point, and he really doesn't want to die because he already died once, and he wants to like, you know, he's in a crappy novel, but it's life, you know, he wants to keep living. I'm only like 25 chapters into that one, so I don't know how good it's gonna be, but I'm enjoying it.
I'm only 25 chapters in. Like sometimes that's the entire book.
I know that's true, but as you can tell, this author, like, she is verbose. Like twice as long as a George R.R. Martin novel. I can't even. But yeah. So that's been that. Anything else on the Chinese fandom we want to talk about? Because I can shift gears onto something else.
No. I just want to plug another rec for Kink Your Heart.
Go for it.
No, for like Kink Your Heart, because it's actually like really good. And
I just find it interesting though. Like we came into this fandom in different like sections. Like, yay, China. But anyway, my next rec is one that you also know, Jamie. Fugo Kaiji. It's an anime.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I have only known about this for about 20 hours.
Yeah, I found out about it like last week or something like that. Somebody I follow on Twitter retweeted the trailer, and I'm just like, well, I'm gonna like this.
So I wrote a 2,000 word article about this within like a few hours of watching it, and my experience of getting to this has been kind of interesting because suddenly, like Thursday night, my Twitter timeline was covered with these new pretty anime boys. And I'm like, what is this? Why is everyone talking? What is this? And so I literally just asked, what is this new pretty anime boy thing that everyone's talking about? And someone responded without any context, Fugo Kaiji. Like they just knew immediately, like this is the thing. And so I watched it. And I can see why everyone's obsessed with it. It's a detective, like mystery show, but the two leads are extremely shippable. Which is great. It's not officially a BL story though, so if you're going into this hoping for like canon, like queer content, you'll probably be disappointed. But we're one episode in. I'm going into it assuming that we're gonna just have shippable characters. But it's about like a regular detective, and then this millionaire detective, which is what the title is, Fugo Kaiji, millionaire detective. And that's pretty much all we know right now, but apparently there's a novel as well, so I'm sure that other people out there know the entire plot already, but I don't, so it's going to be brand new to me.
Neither do I. It was Daisuke, and I'm just like, oh yes, that is my anime type right there. Like the tall, like the dark hair, grumpy looking, like that's my thing in anime.
I think Tsundere is the type, maybe, or no, maybe not. I don't know what he is exactly.
Oh yeah,
but
I don't know what that is. I mean, I know what it is, but I
don't know if he fits into that perfectly, but yeah. But yeah, I'm obsessed with that now. Oh my god, my cat's being very bad. Bruce, sorry.
Wait, I do have one. So it's reading, because I mean, I actually read this like 6 weeks ago when I got the arc of it. But check please. The gay hockey figure skating baking webcomic. The second officially published volume came out on Tuesday. Which has the end of the comic. And she's still, there's one more chapter, I think, that she has to still post online, which actually I think was supposed to post like 2 hours ago, but I was fighting with my modem, so I didn't notice. So it's over, and it's and of course, like, Jack and Biddy got engaged, which is like amazing, and I've been waiting to be able to like say that publicly for like 6 weeks because because nobody else knew and I didn't want to spoil anybody. But that came out on Tuesday. You can, but you know, you don't have the funds right now. It is all available online if you just Google Check Please comic, and then you can start from the beginning and read it online. It's all there. Yay.
Wow, we kind of left Erin behind there.
Sorry, Erin.
Fandom talk, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
We have a lot of overlapping fandoms.
My stuff's a little more mainstream, but it's mostly just because So kind of what I've been doing the last little while, I'll show you. Animal Crossing.
Oh my god, yes. I haven't played it, I don't own a Switch, but that's all over my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's the weirdest, shockingly addictive video game that I never thought I was gonna like. And now I'm like, oh, I gotta check on my person all the time. I gotta go see if I can get some fish. I don't know. You like you live on an island, and you like fish and catch bugs and grow flowers, and it's very soothing in these turbulent times to just have a little control over something. And no, it's actually really cute, and it is very addictive, and it's all in like real time. So when you first log in for the first time, you choose like which hemisphere you live in, and your time zone. And so it basically follows like what your time would be where you are now, you know? And so that's kind of cool. It always seems so warm there though, and it's not warm here. So that's a little misleading, but it's fine. And then
well, it's what TV? Oh, well, I was just gonna say it's always like, you know, on television shows that are set in like the Northeast, and it'll be like November, and they're not wearing jackets, and I'm like, no, you're not.
Gilmore Girls was really infamous for that. They'd be walking around in December in like light sweaters.
It's like I have a scarf and earmuffs. It's like, yeah, you're wearing a parka and like boots. Like, where are those? Sorry, Erin.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of fun. Like, there's no real plot to it. But it is the coolest part for me, at least. And I don't know what other people think about this. They probably think it's lame. I don't know. You can actually, when you get to a certain point in the game, you can start, you can have a museum built on your island. and then any sort of new fish or bugs or whatever, and you can also dig up fossils. Any types of those things you can donate to the museum. And then the museum, when you actually go in, it has like these really cool, elaborate like aquariums and butterfly sanctuary or whatever. And so you can actually go in through the museum and run through all the rooms. And it's like all the stuff that you donated to the museum that you actually collected. It's cool.
That is pretty
cool. So yeah, I want to not be addicted to it, but here we are.
Since I don't have a Switch.
I don't have a Switch either.
I bought the Switch Lite because it's just me, so I don't really have anybody to play with. So I'm like, I'll just get the Switch Lite, and it's fun.
So, since I don't have a Switch, and have been kind of jealous of everyone that's been doing this. I've picked Minecraft back up because there's some similarities. Like you can build your own little like area and fish and like, you know, interact with the animals and the plants and everything. So it's different, but like that has been my jealousy coping mechanism of watching everyone have fun with Animal Crossing is to go back into Minecraft. Like,
I just have to warn you. I mean, you can get into Animal Crossing, but it's going to be like your entire life for a little while just to prepare you. So, I mean,
there was, I know Angel goes on Reddit. I don't know if Aaron goes on Reddit, but are either of you guys subscribed to Am I the Asshole?
No, but I see whatever trends on RL from that sub.
So if you're not familiar with Am I the Asshole, it's basically people will post scenarios in which they want like confirmation or whatever.
The asshole.
Yes, if they're the asshole in a specific situation. And apparently there was one. I skim these a lot. I like reading the comments more than I like reading the situation. But there was one guy and his wife is addicted to Animal Crossing so much that she like hasn't showered in like 3 weeks, and he's basically just like, am I an asshole for forcing her to shower? And I'm just like,
oh my god.
Let me put a disclaimer back in about I have a job and I've been like working all day. So when I say it consumes your life, I'm like, I check it first thing in the morning and then I play like in the evening for a little bit. So I guess
yes, really, and I'm sure for most people that's what it's like. Yeah. But I mean, and like not to armchair diagnose everything, but I was very much like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure I still showered. When I first moved to Arizona, which I lived in Arizona 13 years ago, 14. I lived with my older sister, and the reason I lived in Arizona was because I had lived with my parents for a couple of years after I graduated college, saving up money for grad school, and then I didn't get into grad school, and it sort of like flattened me because I had all my plans were based on going to grad school, and I didn't get in, so I didn't know what to do. And the day I got my last rejection letter, I called my sister crying, and she was like, "Move here." So I moved to Arizona for a year, and then I moved. I didn't like it, but I also never really intended to stay, so I didn't really give it a chance. But anyway, when I first moved out there, I didn't have any friends except my sister, and she had a job, so she couldn't like hang out with me all the time. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything, so I was basically like stuck in the house all day. And for the first like 2 weeks or something, we didn't even have internet. So it was I was really, really into a television show at the time, and that was sort of like my life. And I do not ever recommend having a television show be your life, because I do not like some of the stuff that I did at that time in my life. But that was the thing. So that just sort of reminds, like, I worry that like that's why I'm like, shit, I need to go out and do something because I don't want to do that again. That's why I stepped back from fandom a lot now, because I was very involved in that fandom. Like I did posted on message boards, like all that kind of stuff. And
You're killing me. I need to know. Like, I need to know
what show?
This one.
Oh, CSI New York.
So random.
Is that why you like moved to New York? Because you like the show?
Oh no, I've wanted to live in New York since I was like 9. But I did actually, when I moved to New York, I lived with a friend that I met through CSI message boards. So there was that.
I think we all have addictive personalities here.
Why we're doing
so it's very easy to get sucked in. I think sometimes things are easier to wean yourself off of than others. And I'm having a difficult time with Animal Crossing, but I think it's just because, first of all, it's a time waster.
Yeah.
And second, it really is. It's like controlling your little life, you know? And so for me, it's very comforting. And so I totally get it. Yeah. But I'm trying not to let it consume me. I still have to work. I still have to I guess I don't have to do anything else. But
yeah, it was a little bit better once I got a job, but I still didn't really have any friends out there. Yeah. So it was a lot of hanging out with my sister, which I love my sister, obviously. But she had her own friends, so it's not like that was, yeah. And then obviously,
go ahead.
And then once I moved to New York, it was, you know, I think it's helped living somewhere where there's stuff to do, because I grew up in a small town, and I wasn't really like I was super into stuff when I was in college, but it was like Harry Potter and stuff like that. And I had people around that I could do stuff with. And when I lived with my parents, I lived in a small town, and we had moved there when I was in college. So I didn't have friends in town. All of my friends lived, you know, an hour and a half drive away. And so like, I didn't have a social life, and in a small town, there wasn't anything to do. And even like, I mean, we had small town Pennsylvania, but it was like, we had a movie theater, but it only had 5 screens. I say only, but yeah, it had 5 screens, and it always played crap. Sometimes you'd have to drive like 40 miles to the next movie theater to see anything. And then once I moved to New York, I like met people and had stuff to do. And so like the television didn't consume my life the way that it did. So, and then it's funny. And it's like, once I moved to New York, I actually stopped watching CSI New York. But that is because my ship on that show, which is why I started watching it, they had him cheat on her, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm not okay with that. And I like stopped.
Yeah,
turkey, like watching the show.
Totally valid. I've stopped so many shows because they did things to my favorite characters. I was just done with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going off what you're saying, I've always been a city person. Like, I grew up in Southern California, which is basically one giant, many hundreds of square miles city, but with different city names because it's like one giant block of concrete. And then I lived in Portland, and now I'm in Honolulu. And very occasionally for like a few months here or there, I lived out in like country areas. Like for a while, I lived on Oahu's North Shore, which is like an hour and a half bus ride into town. And like it was pretty, don't get me wrong, but I was like miserable because like you're stuck there, and like the only fun thing to do was like walk to 7-Eleven or sit on the beach, which I'm not a huge beach person despite the fact that I live in Hawaii. So like I need a city to like keep me entertained, or I just sit there and go crazy.
Yep.
That's cool. Well, I get it. I live in a state where most people think everything is a small town, and for the most part, everything is a small town, except for the cities that we have, and I can't live outside the city either, so it's
just doesn't work.
I do want to talk about the other thing that I have been watching, which is The Magicians, which we're all familiar with because I actually I started watching The Magicians when it first came out on Sci-Fi, and I watched it in real time, and I loved it. And then in the second season, I got rid of my cable or whatever, and so I stopped watching it, and then I never picked it back up. And one of my good friends, Devora, you know her, she was like, why aren't you watching The Magicians? It's like the best show. I'm like, I don't know. I just stopped watching it, and now I'm too far behind. And so she's been on me for like 2 years to pick it back up. And finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I started rewatching it from the beginning, and there's so much stuff that I like did not remember from when I watched it the first time. And so I'm glad that I watched it. It's very, very good. Lots of magic. It's fantasy, which most people are into sci-fi. I personally am into fantasy. And so, yeah, it's basically about these grad students go to this magic school called Breakbills, and they're really, I mean, that's not the main plot. That's like the main plot of season 1.
Which is the only season I've seen. So I'm like, yeah, I remember that. That's literally.
Yeah. And they get into some, you know, they have like some villains they gotta destroy, and it's just really good. Lots and lots of queer content in there as well. It's a great show for representation. But it's also just like very magic. So
I can't remember why I stopped watching it, because I mean, it wasn't bad. I think I just had so much to watch, and I don't think the queer themes were super present in the first season. Like, we knew
there was Elliot,
I think.
Yeah,
Elliot was bi, I think. It's been many years since I've watched it. Was he bisexual? I think. But yeah, I remember like that. I liked that, but like there were so much media, like I had to pick what to watch, and it just didn't make the cut. But maybe I should try it again. I don't know.
I had a lot of stuff going on when that came out, because I actually started when it started. I was reviewing it, and I think I only made it 4 episodes, and then I got behind, and then I was like, oh well. So
yeah.
And now we have Rodney reviewing it, right?
Yeah, but it's
over. It's over. Yeah.
Reviewed past tense.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was easy to do because it seemed kind of nothing special. But the more that I'm watching it, the more I'm like, man, this is really good. And it's on Netflix, so it's easy to watch right now. And I recommend you get back into it because it's very enjoyable. And it's a little bit soapy, but that's okay. And I'm fine with that. So, yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit today, and I did not put this in the doc, so I'm throwing you off base here. So the other night, and I mentioned this in the chat, in our editor chat. So the other night I was catching up on an episode of The Resident, which is a show that I watch. It's a medical drama on Fox. And it was their season 3 finale. And they filmed a short scene at the beginning of the episode where they mentioned coronavirus. And it was a very quick sort of like, it was very short, and it's mentioned in passing. It was 2 doctors. They were talking to each other because there's an arc in the last few episodes that have been the hospitals fighting a drug-resistant fungal infection that's very contagious. So all the doctors were getting tested. And so these 2 doctors were talking to each other. One was in like full PPE, like the gown, face mask, everything. And the other doctor was just like in his suit and his coat, his doctor coat, you know. And they were talking about being tested and just like walking down the hallway, talking about getting tested. And the one doctor to the other is like, you don't have to wear all of the medical equipment, it's not like it's the coronavirus. And I was like, what? Why?
Well, did they film that recently, or would they have filmed that like months ago before that was like an issue here?
I think it might, because it was such a short scene and it was at the very beginning, I think it might have been something that they cut together sort of last minute to include, because it didn't really do anything to the plot. It wasn't, but they could have filmed it a while ago, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to hear your thoughts, because I know we kind of started a discussion a little bit in the chat.
Feelings about this, because like I remember back for September 11th, like about a month after that happened, there was that show, and I remember I couldn't remember the name of it, and then we found the name of it in chat, but I'm forgetting the name of it again. Third Watch. Okay, thank you. Had a brief like 9/11 scene at the tail end of their episode, where like it's a regular episode, and then at the very end, like they're all rushing out the door to an emergency, and you know what the emergency is. And the last shot is them like on the fire truck going towards Manhattan. And it's like, at that time, I was really uncomfortable with that, because I was 14 years old. I was traumatized. Everyone was traumatized, but like I was not ready like for it to be reflected in the fictional universe yet. Like, but then when we started talking about it and we found it, I went and looked up the clip, and the clip actually aged pretty well. Like, here we are 19 years later, and I watched it and I'm like, you know what, that wasn't that bad. It's actually, they didn't mention it by name. They didn't mention what was happening. Like, it was just a very subtle scene. So in retrospect, it aged okay. We're still in the middle of this pandemic though, so I'm not sure that one's going to age so well, because things are very different from when they filmed it. Like, I don't know, like, we're not done. Like, it's still happening.
It really, like, I've had situations like this, like you mentioned, where current events, burrow themselves in media. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's really cool that they mentioned that. And sometimes you're like, what? And this one just like took me really off guard, because I'm like, coronavirus, haha.
We're still in the middle of it, and it's worse than it was whenever you filmed this, exponentially worse. Like,
and that's
unless you filmed it yesterday, like,
right. I don't think it's going to age well, but fortunately, it was like just a comment, like, that probably a lot of people missed, because it was like the very first scene, and so. Maybe. But it took me off guard, and I was like, this is weird.
Maybe it will age as a testament to how people were thinking at the beginning of the situation, where it was just an offhanded comment. Hospitals were not in crisis mode yet. It was just this thing happening somewhere else, and we weren't really that impacted yet. So maybe it'll age as like commentary on that phase of the situation, because right now, that doesn't sound like, I haven't seen it, but that doesn't sound like at all the reality of what we're dealing with, and feels kind of insensitive, because like I've seen the clips of, the hospitals in New York and Italy and stuff, and it's not an offhanded thing, like,
right. And that was the thing is for me, like, one of the things that you, at least not on the news, but definitely on social media, one of the things that you see the most of are nurses and doctors going on Twitter and stuff and saying about how they don't have proper medical equipment and proper personal protective equipment. And that was like the whole bit in this scene, was one guy was wearing his full gear and the other guy wasn't, and was kind of poking fun at him for wearing all of the PPE. And so, at first I was like, oh, that's funny, huh? And then I was like, I don't really like it. Now, to be fair, and I mentioned this in the chat too, The Resident was the first medical TV show to donate all of their PPE, like props and stuff, to like hospitals and stuff. So I do want to mention that. that they did do that, which I think is really great.
Commendable.
Yeah. But it was just a weird sort of situation, and I just wanted to.
And the thing is also, like, media is going to. There's a loud truck going by outside. I'm so sorry. Go by faster, truck. Go by. I'm in the middle of talking. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Living in a city, man, it's not good. Anyway, so I think media is going to change in general. Like right now, late night media is the first thing that we're seeing because it has a quick turnaround time. It has a 24-hour turnaround time. There's a new episode every night. So we see not Jon Stewart, he's long gone, Trevor Noah with the daily social distancing show. And John Oliver is also doing it like from his basement. And like we're seeing that.
So is Samantha Bee does it from her backyard.
Mm-hmm. I saw that too. But fiction is going to eventually start catching up with this and start reflecting, if not outright explicit commentary, like it's not the coronavirus, blah, 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 then more subtle ways, like people wearing masks in public or just like more sanitary stuff or references to the time when we were social distancing. Because I'm assuming we're gonna not have to do this for the rest of our lives. Hopefully, like hopefully this will be done.
You know what? I hope I never have to shake someone's hand ever again. Because I am not a touch person, and I hate shaking hands. And for some people, even like Trump, to come out and say this may never, we may never have handshaking again. I'm like, please let that be the case.
Yeah.
I went to an event right before this all got bad. It was at the beginning of March. And it was, I don't want to call it a book launch because the book doesn't come out until October, but it was like a meet and greet with the author. It's a Victoria Schwab's new book. And it's going to be queer, so pick it up. So it was like things were starting to get crazy, but they weren't quite crazy yet. Like this was before schools shut down in New York. But we all went and we were all just like, everybody bowed to each other or like saluted because nobody wanted to shake hands. So it was like, we can bring that back, like the formal like Victorian bows or whatever. Like, or hey, that like Angel and I have been into the Chinese stuff. Like they bow, like we can just start doing that.
Yes, let's start doing that. I can start doing the xiang bow thing that they do.
But the thing with the media is it's really going to be, some are going to do it okay and some are going to be like, that's unnecessary, because we mentioned in the chat that the Remember Me, that Robert Pattinson movie, where it was like this regular like romance, and then at the end of the movie he dies on September 11th. It's like, is that necessary? But then you have a movie like Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close with Tom Hanks where he dies, and then the movie is about his son sort of dealing with his grief. Like that's, I feel like I haven't actually seen either movie, but I'm assuming the Tom Hanks movie.
I only know Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close because my favorite figure skater skated to music from it. That's pretty much the only thing I know about it. Evgenia Medvedeva. Yeah. That's pretty much all I know. But that made me uncomfortable, though. I love her; she's my favorite. But hearing like 9/11 like phone calls and news reports during a figure skating program was a little weird.
Yeah,
it's.
Oh yeah, that's Beyonce using Challenger audio in her.
Yeah, but I love Evgenia. Like, don't get me wrong, I love her, but that wasn't the best.
Oh well, I think it's a little different for people from other.
Yeah, she's from Russia, so it might be a little bit different context, but let's hope that we don't have like figure skating programs to the coronavirus.
Well, there's so many Schindler's List ones. It's like,
oh my god, yeah. Oh, figure skating to Schindler's List. Yeah. Even though Jason Brown like kicked ass this season with his Schindler's List program, but still.
Well, he's Jewish, right?
Yeah, he is. So
I feel like that's okay.
I mean, I think we all deal with this stuff artistically in different ways. And so while I agree that some things just don't feel right to some of us, for other people, that might be the only way they know how to cope. And so, I don't know.
Yeah. I kind of come on. So there was a mine disaster in Pennsylvania in the early 2000s, and it was for the mine my dad used to work for. Nobody died, everybody lived, so calling it a disaster. But it was like big in the news cycle when it happened, and they made a made-for-TV movie like the next year or something like that. And so I remember watching it and just being like, what? Because first of all, like, they made everybody sound like they were from Alabama. You don't talk like that. So, but yeah, it was just really weird, like, coming that from something that I was like, he didn't work there when it happened. But
here's one, because I live in Hawaii during the whole missile crisis situation where we all thought we were going to die. And like, you know, we got the alert that ballistic missiles were inbound to Hawaii. Trevor Noah came here and titled his routine like Trevor, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like Trevor Noah inbound to Hawaii or something. And I actually laughed at it because Trevor Noah's really good at picking up on cultural cues. Like, he knows how to pay attention and like read the room of a situation. And so his comedy about it wasn't like making fun of us or the situation, but like making fun of the like incompetence that led to the panic, which is something that we all here can agree with. Like, because like the memes that happen afterwards with like Groot like pressing the wrong button, like I am Groot, and like pressing the button like that, you know, blows everything up. Like that was our brand of comedy. And Trevor Noah, even as an outsider, managed to come here and make jokes about it in like a non-offensive way. It's a very fine line to walk, but somehow he did it, and like it was one of the best comedy shows I've ever been to. But
comedy's got to punch up. Like it's not funny when it punches down, but if you make fun of incompetent people that push, you know, the wrong button, then it's like, yeah.
And then like during his comedy thing, he asked the audience like, what did you even do like, during those like 40 something minutes? And someone shouted, we had sex. And then for like 10 minutes, like he was like busting up on stage and could not continue with his routine because it was just like, what the fuck? But anyway, it was an amazing show, and it's like an example of doing it right, but it's hard to do.
Yeah,
we had sex.
I mean, well, I'm glad that we had this little chat. No, it's good. I mean, obviously, I agree. It's a fine line, and I hadn't seen anything like that yet for coronavirus, and so it was weird.
Yeah, for television, I think it's going to depend on where shows are set, because obviously, if it's set somewhere where it wasn't as big of a deal as it is in New York, where it's huge, then they probably won't have it, or it'll just be like a passing mention. I don't even know. I don't really watch TV anymore. Is there anything even set in New York anymore? Like, is there a Law and Order on still? I don't know.
There's not a lot, actually. I know The Resident takes place in Atlanta. And the other medical show, I love medical shows. I don't know what my problem is.
I went through a period. Well, that's why I was like, you guys laughed that CSI New York was my big thing, but I was really into the crime dramas at that time because I watched them with my mom when I was with my parents. So
Atlanta's a hard hit place, though, so that might be a little more.
Yeah,
or at least like a suburb of Atlanta. Like
the other medical show I watch. Sorry, I have this is my thing. It's not mine anymore. It's my cat's toy, but it was right here, so I'm like messing with it. Sorry. So if you see it, that's what I'm doing. The other medical show I watch is The Good Doctor, and that takes place in San Francisco. So, yeah.
Well, it's also a hard hit place.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
They've all donated their PPE though.
That's very good.
So,
very good. I just don't think I'll be ready to tackle it in media for a while, but maybe by the time these scripts get written, because scripts take a while to get from page to screen, you know, maybe I'll be okay then, but right now.
And most of the shows I do watch, probably not going to deal with it. Like, I don't think it's going to pop up in anime.
Oh man. Oh, one thing was interesting though, since we're into Chinese fiction right now. When all this first started, and it was kind of mainly located in China at the time, there was that Lan Wangji, the forklift that was built in the hospital. So during the initial phase when they were building those big temporary hospitals, all the people there were confined to their homes and had nothing better to do than to watch the live footage of the hospitals being built. So they started naming like the machinery, and one of the forklifts was named Lan Wangji, which is one of the characters in Modao Zushi, and he was the number one forklift building one of those hospitals. And like, I loved it because it's fans and people who are in the situation doing it. It's not like us being, used as a marketing ploy. It came from like the fandom, and it came from people who lived there. Like, we were like cheering on this little forklift. Like, it's amazing.
That's actually really good. I like that story. All right. Okay. Speaking of coronavirus, let's move on. So we sorry. We started this last week, but really we've been doing it unofficially for them all, the whole, quarantine, whatever. So this is a section we like to call quarantined shout outs. So what positive things have you seen, or what random things you want to mention that are kind of quarantine related or adjacent that are kind of positive or uplifting or hopeful, or something you want to give a shout out about? And
I have a link on Twitter, or not Twitter, Tumblr. I'd have to find it, but there are a lot of museums that you can explore online, stuff like that. Or I wrote an article about this last week. There's a new YouTube account that is putting up the full musical for Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals for free for 48 hours every week. It's a different musical every week. Last week it was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This weekend it is Jesus Christ Superstar, because tomorrow is Easter, I'm assuming. I don't know what the next one is going to be, but they said it would continue for a few weeks. So I don't know how many they're actually going to do, but stuff like that, where the like producer, and everybody's like, oh, we'll just put this up online. And I'm like, that's awesome. Could you not have done that like before you needed it?
You also had the thing about the zoos.
Oh, right. Well, I don't know if this is quarantine related, because I think zoos do this normally. But in the National Zoo, one of the cheetahs just had cubs, and there's like 4 or 5 of them, and so they have a live webcam of the cheetah cubs.
I wanted you to mention that because that segues into one of mine, which is the pandas are fucking. So
good for them, because it is apparently extremely difficult to make pandas do that.
So yeah, it's really hard for pandas to bang.
They're just really shy, I guess.
And so now that there's no people like pressing their faces against the glass waiting for them to do the do, they decided to finally smash and having sex. Good job.
That's really good. I mean,
propagating this.
It takes disasters like this to just realize how terrible humans are. No, because
like the Trevor Noah joke from earlier. What did you do during those 40 minutes? We thought you were gonna die. We had sex.
Well, yeah, okay, but no. But seriously, humans are terrible. We have these poor little animals. Like, I understand zoos are important. Like, I am an animal lover myself, so I get it. But like having, like you said, Angel, like having people press their faces up against the glass and like waiting for this to happen, it's just terrible.
Do it.
Like, they just need privacy. Ugh.
There's a lot of great stuff coming out of zoos right now, besides the pandas banging. There's lots of videos of animals exploring the zoos, like the penguins exploring the zoos, and the little kittens exploring the zoos, which I shared on the Geekiary Facebook page, even though it's not geek related.
Yeah,
usually
there's that animal shelter in like Atlanta or wherever that took the puppies and the kittens to the aquarium.
Yeah, and like the little tiny kittens like looking at all the big fishies that are bigger than them. It was so cute. And so I had to share that because like it so cute.
Our zoo here in Des Moines, the Blank Park Zoo, has some really great content too. And they had one of the porcupines out visiting the other animals this week.
I can't remember what zoo this was, but there is a zoo where zookeepers quarantine themselves within the zoo so they can take care of the animals and not get infected. I can't remember which one it is, but I think
it's a lot of them actually are doing that.
There was one specific one that like made the news. I'm sure a lot are, but like I remember it was like 6 of them and they were like all women and it was like pretty interesting. But I can't remember. But yeah, you're right. There's probably a lot of them.
Well, in New York, animal care is considered essential. So
it definitely should be. Who's going to feed them?
They wouldn't have to quarantine, but probably easier for them because taking the train, which I'm gonna have to do in 2 weeks because my job is essential, but we're on mandatory work from home. But we can't.
My job also essential, but
but ours we can't do 85% of our job from home. Like it requires equipment that I cannot just like buy at Best Buy. And so we have one person from our department that has to go in for 3 days a week to do everything. So it was me last week. So this week was my first week fully working from home, and I'm not a fan. Not really. It's very hard to motivate me.
It really takes time. It really takes time to get used to.
I understand that, but like I'm so worried about you. I'm glad you're home. I'm sorry. I know I'm like more worried about you than you are. I'm constantly like, are you okay? Like,
well, and like I said, I mean, our building there was nobody in our, like the worst thing would obviously be the subway, but since everybody's ordered to stay at home, there's still people on it, but way less people than normal. Like I got on the train at 5:30, which is rush hour, and there's like 12 people on the train. I wouldn't have been able to sit down.
Are you in Brooklyn? Or where do you? Okay, yeah, and that's like the really hard hitter. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm always like.
Actually, my neighborhood in particular, because I live in a heavily Hasidic neighborhood, and they were ignoring the stay-at-home order for a while. So
you're not helping me not be freaked out about you.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm like way to the edge of the Hasidic neighborhood and closer to the Chinese neighborhood.
Okay.
And that's why, because like, some of my friends were like, oh, everybody should start wearing masks. And I'm like, I live in a heavily Asian neighborhood. They all wear masks anyway in the winter. So there's really not a lot of them. Like when I started seeing them in Manhattan, then when I was like, oh, okay. No. And I made my own mask and it actually didn't work very.
I have a friend who's going to be delivering masks to me at some point after this webcast. So when it gets close to 3, I have to boogie regardless of whether or not we're done. My friend's going to be here with masks delivered. So.
Like it worked because I did one of those on the things where it was like you use the bandana and you fold it over and you just use hair ties. I don't have a bandana, so I cut up a t-shirt. But it works and it like worked fine. I had to go out and get groceries a couple days ago, so I wore it. But it's thick. It's too thick. Like it was just like really warm on my face. I don't know if I live like North or Stockholm, so people can't understand me. And since it wasn't like sewed shut or anything like that, the fabric was like loose and I'd inhale it into my nose. So it made it hard to breathe. I was like, it's okay if I'm like running, like the grocery store is like a 5-minute walk for me. But like if I have to go to work and I'm an hour on the train, like that's not gonna be pleasant. So I'm gonna have to think of something else.
I have another positive thing. So a lot of celebrities have been posting videos, like a lot of workout videos and stay healthy and get active and stuff like that. Simu Liu, who's going to be in one of the upcoming MCU films. Yeah, and Yeah, that one. And he posted one where he's like, all right, this is the Marvel workout. And he's like, has 2 weights on the floor in front of him. And he's like getting pumped. And then he sits down and plays Xbox. It's my favorite thing because it's like a big psych out. And it's like, God, I love him. I'm so glad we got him in the MCU. This has been a blessing. He is
so great. He is Twitter gold, basically.
That's my favorite celebrity because a lot of these celebrity ones are tone deaf. They're like in their own like mansion gyms, like stay active. It's like I am in a like 150 square foot studio apartment. Like what can I do? You got a full gym in your basement. It's like
I can't put down my yoga mat without my cat falling asleep on it. So
yeah, or like Ellen saying that her mansion is prison.
Charlie.
Yeah, it was pretty tone deaf, but like. We're trying to stay positive, so maybe I shouldn't have brought her up. But like,
it's fine.
Well, I appreciated the response where there was a mom that was talking about how her like 19-year-old daughter she works at a grocery store, and it was like she's considered essential, so she has to go to work, and she's like, I don't appreciate you taking this. And then somebody commented, and they're like, your daughter is a hero, and she's like, no, she's 19, she can't come home because she'll risk infecting us. Like she's essential, but but they don't minimum wage employees they're obviously essential. The economy will collapse without them, but they're not.
Yeah.
People disparage minimum wage jobs all the time. I won't get into it.
This situation has shown that celebrities are not essential. They can stay at home and not do anything, and that's fine. And all the minimum wage employees out there at grocery stores and restaurants and delivery drivers, they're the essential ones that keep our country going. So that's interesting.
Pay them more money.
I've been tipping like delivery drivers so well, like more than usual, because like they're going out there in a pandemic to bring me groceries. It's like, my God.
Yeah, I usually tip pretty well anyway because there's no elevator in my building and I live on the top floor. But I've been tipping extra on top of that because I'm like, thank you. Especially like I ordered food today, and I tipped like almost $6. Which is a lot for me. It like on Grubhub, it was like, oh, your food will be here. It was supposed to be like an hour because it's actually not that close. I was very happy that like, it's really weird because it's like, oh, it's New York. Everywhere delivers. It's like, yes, within a certain like 10 block radius, they will deliver to you. I was like, if you live outside the radius, because it depends on if they have a car or a bike or whatever. So I was kind of surprised because usually restaurants on this particular street where this is don't deliver to my block. So I was like, oh, thank God, because it's Indian food and I haven't had Indian food in forever.
That's been a blessing during this. It lasts forever. One meal lasts 5 meals.
but yeah, so like Grubhub was like, oh, it'll be here in like an hour. And I'm like, well, that's reasonable considering where it is. And then the guy was here in like 20 minutes. And I'm like, was my food even good? So it's like, you brought it here so fast, which I appreciate.
My delivery driver a couple days ago, which was also Indian food, she like set it on the door and then like messaged me saying it's at your doorstep. And I'm like, oh, bless you. Like there's no contact delivery. That was fantastic. Like,
yeah, Grubhub does that. You can select that now.
I get it off my squad. They don't have that as an option. So she just did it of her own accord. And I appreciate it so much. Because other ones, a lot of them that have been delivering have been coming with masks. And I've had a couple like offer me hand sanitizer and stuff, which has been great. I have my own as well, but like it's super kind of them. But she just took it upon herself to like gently place it at my door and walk away. I'm like, thank you, kind lady.
Well, and I like the check as opposed to the knock because when they knock on my door, my dog freaks out. And then I'm like, oh, stop barking. So
I've also learned the trick of like Shipt, like when they do grocery delivery. If you leave bags on your door, they will fill the bags with the food, and then you just open your door and take in your bags. And I didn't know how that worked. I've never had Shipt before, but that was super convenient. Because like the very first time I did it, they just left all the groceries like sitting there, like on my doorstep, and I'm like, that's weird.
That is
but
weird.
Okay. But then I actually had a driver explain to me, leave your grocery bags on the door, and when we come, we'll put them in the bags and set the bags on your doorstep. And I'm like, oh, I'm learning things. Thank you. Like, thank you, kind delivery driver.
Yeah, I normally get, I've always done grocery delivery for, I mean, not always, but for a very long time, because again, top floor, no elevator. So I can only, when I go shopping, I can only buy what I can physically carry. And you guys have seen me, I do not have upper body strength. So there's limited, it's like if I'm buying beverages, that's just it, because I won't be able to carry anything else. So I've always done delivery, and it's impossible in New York to get anything delivered through the normal means. Because like I normally do Prime Now, which has same day delivery, 2-hour window. You cannot get anything. Like you have to wake up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and like maybe you'll get a window for something in 2 weeks.
I've been having that issue with Shipped. They only do 2 days out. So if there's nothing available for 2 days, you can't put your order in. But I've noticed that if I log in at like 10 or 11 p.m., there maybe will be one available the next day. But it took me 3 days of trying to finally get my most recent order in. But I finally got it in, and like, yeah, it's hard, but like, thank God these things exist.
That's why I've just been walking to the store. I'm like, it's
going back. I'm kind of backtracking to the celebrities in their mansions thing. Conan O'Brien did a parody of that, where he is sitting in like a normal looking room, and he's talking about how celebrities are being kind of tone deaf, showing their big mansions when people are trapped at home. And then he does a gag where he's like trying to find something in his house, and he walks in front of a bunch of green screens of like huge like classic buildings, and like echoing in huge like halls, and like hello. It's like, I don't know. I think Conan O'Brien has earned the right to do that. That was like a perfect call out of his fellow celebs.
Well, that's sort of like, there was an argument. I know you guys don't really use Tumblr, but there was a thing because, you know, obviously, well, even if you haven't seen it, I'm sure most people are aware of the celebrities singing Imagine video.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, there was also, and this was actually like, they had a concert, like a remote concert. I want to say it was iHeartRadio or something like that. But a bunch of acts performed, including Backstreet Boys. And they did I Want It That Way from 5 different locations. And that was huge. And that made the rounds on Tumblr. And then somebody brought up, there was like, why is this okay, but the Imagine one wasn't? And everybody's like, well, it's different circumstances. Like the celebrities did that, you know, that's them helping, is being like, oh, like just imagine, like blah, blah, blah. And like the Backstreet Boys is like, they're doing that for their fans as something to like, you know, take their minds off things. They're not doing it to, that's not their version of help, you know. I'm phrasing this very poorly, but also that was a planned event. Like there was a whole concert thing. So it's not like they're like, we're just going to do this and that's our way of helping.
Those celebrities are not celebrities known for singing Imagine. Those are celebrities who are singing Imagine to look good in the middle of a pandemic, whereas the Backstreet Boys are known for singing that song.
Yeah.
And singing that song in such a way, you know, is a nostalgia kick for us, whereas the other one doesn't do anything for us, except for be like, oh, look at these celebrities helping.
That, and that was part of it too, in the takedown post, that it was basically like the Backstreet Boys, like that's their job. They sing. Like that's their whole reason for being, and that song is one of their most well-known. So it's like, so it was like,
that was amazing. I loved it.
Well, I'm going to have to interject here and talk about BB Mac, because obviously they've been doing daily stuff too. And they did a song. It wasn't a whole concert, but it was just one of their songs where they did it from 3 different locations as well. But it was not backed up to their stuff. It was just like all one guy playing a guitar and all 3 of them singing. I don't know how they pulled that off. How can you do that like via Skype or whatever with like no backing track?
Tim McGraw did that too. I don't know, like Tim McGraw. I went through a big country phase when I was in college, because I went to college in Ohio. But Tim McGraw did that too, because they had that whole concert that the Backstreet Boys did their song, and then Tim McGraw had one. But it was like he was sitting on the diving board of his pool, and like then he had like his drummer somewhere, you know, in another, and the guitar player, and they were all in different locations, and I'm just like, that is skill. That is some skill right there. I was like, I was in the orchestra and we could barely keep tempo when we're all on the same stage. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I just love BB Max, though. I had to get them in there. I also don't mind the Backstreet Boys. I actually really loved them for a while, but it's fine.
I was like an NSYNC person, but whatever.
I mean, I'm an NSYNC person too. That's why I'm like.
Back in high school, it was like you had to be one or the other. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, and like the person that annoyed me was really into Backstreet Boys, so I chose NSYNC, and this is totally like a 16-year-old's logic. And now I'm 33 and I don't care. It's all great.
Well, mine was, I really loved the Mickey Mouse Club when I was younger, and JC and Justin were both on the Mickey Mouse Club. So when I saw them in, what was it? Teen Beat. One of those, Teen Beat, Bop, you know, one of those. And I saw that they were in a band, and I'm like, what? Because I hadn't heard that yet. And so that was, that was my
I think one of these quarantine feelings, we need to do a boy band edition, because I have a lot of stories, that I think you guys would really appreciate.
It's like my thing was weird because I was kind of gothy in high school, but I still liked pop music. So I liked pop music like secretly. Like it was like I was dressed all in black with black eyeliner and eyeshadow and lipstick, but like rocking out to like NSYNC.
Of course, pop music is the best music.
I was like a secret pop music person. Now I don't care. Like it's like fuck yeah, the late 90s, early 2000s pop. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the most random iPod. Like the music on my iPod is like Disney songs, anime theme songs. Like there's some old school hip hop, like Broadway.
My coworkers like make fun of me because like my music taste is like the same 10 bands and anime music. Like that's it. Like
well, also I gotta say, like probably
the anime music. Oh.
Probably 20% of my iPod is One Direction related. It's either One Direction or it's their solo stuff. So there's a lot of One Direction.
We're gonna have a boy band special edition. Yep, we're gonna do it. Yeah. You guys are gonna love you guys. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea, like even what my life was like when I was in high school and into boy bands. You're gonna find out, and you're probably gonna be like, Erin, we had no idea. So
it'll be me talking about my secret pop music appreciation because it didn't go with who I was on the outside. That's gonna be me the entire episode.
Mine was I get judged because when I was in college, I went to an NSYNC concert instead of my cousin's wedding.
I would have done that too.
But I mean, I could save this for the inevitable webcast. But we bought the tickets before we found out about the wedding. That's how much notice we had for the wedding. And we already bought the tickets, so
I fully support that decision.
But apparently my aunt is mad at me. I have missed both of that cousin's weddings, because the first one, NSYNC concert, and the second one was during Comic-Con. So
well, you just can't help that.
Like we got more notice for that one. I think we got 4 months instead of 2 months. But I already had my plane ticket, so I'm like, sorry.
All right. Well, I think it's maybe time to wrap this up before we get too far down the boy band rabbit hole. Because we inevitably will.
Yep.
Even though we just committed to do a whole one. So we'll wait for that.
I will probably retell that story later.
I'll retell mine.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. I'm so excited now. Okay. Do we have a question?
Oh, I totally forgot to come up with one.
I don't know.
This was always something we only did like half the time because none of us could ever think of a question. So we'll skip question for now. We'll just talk about boy bands next time. Okay. All right. Are we ready? Do we have anything else to say? I think we're good.
Oh, can I say something? So last week was my birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And my dad has this tradition where every year for the past like 6 years, something like that, I get a season of Game of Thrones on DVD for my birthday. That is a tradition. When I was at my parents' for Christmas, I was like, "Hey, Mom, Dad does not have to season 8." I'm like, I'm cool with not getting that this year. And she's like, he already bought it. So aww. I'm like, well, does he want to just keep it? Because the thing that my dad does, I think the first season I got for Christmas, and I took it home and watched it, and that's how my dad got into it, because I watched it when I was at my parents. And so when the second season came out, he's like, I'm gonna send you this. He's like, I'm telling you this now because I want to borrow it once after you like. And I was like, well, why don't you just watch it and then send it to me? Because you live in Florida, and it just seems to make more sense to do that than have like ship it to me and then I have to ship it to you and then you ship it. So that's what my dad does. He buys me the season on DVD and then he watches it because my parents don't have HBO. And then he mails me the DVD for my birthday, and he puts a note in the DVD. And the first few times it was from like the DVD inspector. But it'll be like a little like, you know, somehow related to my birthday or all that kind of thing. So this year he had this whole thing that it was from a lawyer in Westeros about the damage caused by the dragon fire in King's Landing. Just this like huge long like 2-page letter. Yeah.
Your dad is such a dad, but like to the extreme. Like a letter.
Very, very dad, yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not like, oh, I should have gotten it, but it's like, it's not accessible that I could show, but it's like, yeah, 2 pages. One year it was from somebody that was trapped in the DVD factory and was sending a note for help.
Okay, that's funny.
So then I had to text him because I was just like, and what did we think of season 8? Because I was waiting to ask him because he's always so far behind.
What did he think?
He did not like it.
Good,
no.
Good.
No, and I was like, yeah,
like 5 people did. 2 of them were D&D.
Yeah, he liked the Battle of Winterfell, which I think everybody liked.
It was a highlight.
And he thought that Daenerys burning King's Landing was, he's like, even for that show, was gratuitous. And that the whole thing made no sense because they obviously did that just so that Jon Snow would have a reason to kill her. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, the ending made no sense. So even if my dad can think that, yep.
Yeah. Even if your dad can think that. I'm sorry, just like the way you worded that.
Well, if you knew my dad.
He's never gonna watch this, is he? Because that's gonna.
We'll talk offline. It's fine. Yeah, no, I agree though. Like he seems like into it, but more of a casual fan, and so I feel like if he's like,
yeah,
no, that was bad.
Well, because he actually bought me last year for my birthday. He got me season 7, which I had gotten the year before because there was no new season, and so he got that for me, and I was just like, and that's the only thing he gets me for my birthday. So he got me the same thing, and I was just like, thank you. You got me that last year, and he's like, I thought it looked familiar because he watches them, so it's like he rewatched the season. And he was just like, I thought I'd seen those episodes before. He's like, I thought I'd just seen them on TV. And I'm like, ow, you guys don't have HBO. That's why you watch this.
Oh, yeah, your dad's silly.
So then I was just like, would you like to keep it? Because, like, so I did. I actually, like, my dad has season 7 on DVD. That's it. Just because he got me 2 copies.
Very good. I like the birthday anecdote. That was fun. Yeah. So how many weeks have we been in this now? Like 5 million?
I've been in lockdown for about 18 days, 19 days.
Ours went into effect March, like St. Patrick's Day, around there.
And mine was like a week after that.
But I personally haven't been in quarantine until this week. So
Yeah.
Although it's really not that different from my normal life because I'm poor, so I can't do a whole lot. In the winter, there's not a whole lot of stuff to do in the winter. There's a lot of stuff to do in the summer.
Now you just reminded me that I was supposed to go to Florida on freaking Tuesday, and now I'm not.
My parents were gonna go. My parents have annual passes because they live in Florida to Disney, and they were actually planning on going like the week after they shut down the theme parks, and so they were very upset because their pass expires. Oh, I'm not sure when it expires, but you know, Florida residents, they have blackout dates, and most of the summer is blacked out, so they only had, I think, until like mid-May to go before their pass expires, and who knows when they're going to open up. So.
Yeah. Well, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know.
Yep. I'm just thankful I'm still employed.
Me too.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Let's wrap this thing up.
On that happy note.
I'm Erin, along with Admin Angel and Jamie. Thank you again for joining us for Quarantined Feelings with the Geekiary. Remember, we're a free webcast run off of donations from viewers like you. Thanks for contributing and helping our host site, the Geekiary. We'll probably see you next week. Bye.
Bye.